pull something that primary arms is not gonna like and Vortex really is not gonna like. I'll get a primary arms magnifier to play with and use it with the Vortex holographic sight. That'll piss both of them off. Yeah, and it'll make my day. So I'll test the magnifier and the sight. Alright, almost done. Too much talking for me. That sounded weird. Kowa. Kowa is an interesting, so it's one of those classic Japanese optics companies that do really cool things, microscopes, some of the best spotters and binoculars in the world, and they always look really uncomfortable at SHOT Show. These are not gun people. They had a couple of prototype compact spotters. So and they've got my interest peaked. So they will have a 50 millimeter spotter and a 55. And the 55 millimeter looks nice and compact. I took some pictures. They had a prototype there. Angled eyepiece and straight eyepiece. I think 20 to 60 power or 15 to 45. I think 20 to 60 is what they had. I don't know what they'll have going forward. The 55 is gonna have a pure fluorite objective, like the 88 millimeter Prominar, and that promises pretty impressive image quality, right? It's so all the other Prominars do not have a pure fluorite objective element. They have fluorite glass. It's not the same thing. Pure fluorite objective element allows you a greater degree of correction in a more compact package. That 55 millimeter spotter promises to be best in class. So that's of interest to me. It'll arrive, I think, around middle of the year, so I'll make sure I look at it. Okay. All right, what else? Okay, so last but not least, before I talk about the gun, I'll talk about optics a little bit more. So Hilux Precision Optics, they used to go by Hilux Leatherwood. I know these guys pretty well. I've known them for a long time. My relationship with them started kind of similar to how I started dealing with Vortex. I got my hands on some of their scope. I called it Chicom crap. I let it go at that, and they sort of took it personally. Not in a way where they take it personally, don't deal with me. They took it personally and got better. The next scope from there that I saw was the Unidial 7-30. It was not a great scope. It had some issues, but it held zero. It adjusted adequately, although the feel of the turrets was not very good. But it held zero, it adjusted okay, and it never died on me. So I kind of said, well, I know there is work to do, but this is better. And then they came out with the CMR4, CMR and CMR4. And those scopes are actually good, truly good for the money. I like those scopes a lot. And they've been learning so now they have several front focal plane scopes in $800 range that they're coming out with a 5 to 30 by 56 and a 1 to 8 by 24. And the 1 to 8 by 24 is of particular interest to me because a few months ago I was sort of chatting with them and I told them, how about I design a reticle for you? So I sketched up a reticle for them and they put in the scope, and the first time I saw it was here at SHOT. And I'm very curious to see what the response is going to be like. I think they will put it in production. It's sketching up a reticle and seeing it in a scope are not the same thing, so I'm kind of trying to correlate my expectations, but it has a lot of features in it. It's probably slightly busier than I like overall, but for 1 to 8, where at 8 power you can reach fairly far, I think I like it, right? So we'll see. I hope they'll make it once they make it. I'll get my hands on it and I'll test it, and I expect it to do well. This basic scope is pretty decent. They'll have two different reticles in it. One that I put together, another one that had somebody else design for them. I think that, like I said, I think the scope will do well. I hope it will. Covered turrets, mil clicks, it's a pretty nice scope. I'll look at that. I'll look at the 5 to 30 by 56, 6 to 30. I think it's 6 to 30. It's a 5x reactor. That looked a respectable, interesting reticle. I'll definitely look at that. I think an $800 edge, it's gonna go up against the Athlon stuff, and it will be nipping, and also the XTR2s and the Vortex PSD Jet 2s and all that. I think this in the $1,000 plus minus a couple of $100. I think that price range is about to see some interesting competition. Let's see what else with Hilux. Alright, so Hilux is coming out with a binocular that is modestly called Phenom ED, 8x42 and 10x42. Extra low dispersion lenses, field flattener, all that. It's their first binocular. They made it themselves. So Hilux, unlike most places, actually has their own factory, so they control the whole thing, right? So the guy who owns the company lives here in Torrance, not too far from me. His son really helps. He's got he was born, grew up here, went to university here, and I think the guy's brother runs the factory in China. So their own factory try to do as much as they can themselves, and that is one of the things that's allowing them to get better. Every year these guys are better and better and better. They're taking quality seriously, they support their products, they stand behind them, kind of like that. This is the first binocular they make, and they say they've been working on it for a couple of years now. So I looked at it, it looked respectable. I will get it from them once it's in production and look at it. The focuser has a nice feel, nice magnesium frame, ED optics, field flattener. Like I said, it's looking interesting, and I expect more interesting things from these guys. What else? Where is this? Oh yeah, I ran into a Canadian bullet maker. I'm not sure why. I'm not gonna order bullets from Canada. It's too far to ship. Last but not least, Hudson H9 handgun. Some technical data. They got a cover on a couple of magazines. I grabbed a magazine. It's a big ass magazine. It looks like an result of an unholy union between a Glock and a 1911. It's a striker-fired pistol with a grip that is kind of like 1911, but very low bore axis, like a Glock, so you hold it much higher. 1911s usually point a little low for me. This one pointed just right, probably because of how high you can grip it. And the trigger is, once again, sort of a fusion of a Glock and a 1911. It's got that trigger safety, although this one's done different. It's hinged on the bottom. And this trigger is by far the best I've ever seen on a gun of this type. The trigger is beautiful, the reset is short and super distinct. I mean, I shed tears and I drooled, and if this thing proves reliable, this is. I'm a Glock shooter, right? I've shot every gun under the sun, but I learned to shoot with Glocks. I shoot them pretty well. I'm happy with them. I've shot all the Walters and the PPQs and all that sort of stuff, and I appreciate nice guns, and nothing to date has really made me go say, this will, I'll ditch my Glocks and I'll use this. Well, so with this Hudson H9, if it proves reliable, I will ditch my Glocks and I'll shoot this. All the controls are there. Slide release is ambidextrous. The magazine release, I can reach all of these things without having to shift my grip. The magazine release is reversible, which is interesting for me. I know I can shoot with both hands, right? So it looks a little bit funky. I don't know if you can easily see it over here. The recoil spring is kind of fairly low inside the frame. I didn't see the gun disassembled, but it looks like it's fairly low. in the frame, and they are saying that that's one of the things that lets them have minimal muzzle rise, very low bore axis, and a low recoil spring. Changes the recoil impulse. The sight pattern does a dovetail sight, front and rear. The pattern is somewhat similar to Smith & Wesson M&P, I think. Um, that's not terribly critical. It just means that I can probably get aftermarket sights for them. But they told me they're changing the sights to a slightly narrow front blade, which is what I like. With what I've seen so far, I'm beyond impressed. I think it's supposed to retail at about $1,100-$1,200. It's heavier than the Glock. I think it's a steel frame. I'm sure once they go out in the market and make some money, they'll make a bunch of different versions for red dots and all sorts of stuff. But this thing is really cool. They're saying the trigger's around 5 pounds. It felt lighter, but I have a hard time describing how nice and crisp it was and how good the reset was. So I don't know. I'm impressed. Right, so that's Hudson H9 pistol. I've talked about all the optics companies, I think. Who did I skip? Nikon. Nikon has a new made in Japan Monarch HG, something like that. Binocular. It kind of looks a little bit like Kruger Caldera, very short bridge. I think it's a magnesium frame, stainless steel eye cups, stuff like that. I liked it. I liked it more than a little. It was a nice binocular. They also had two other things that were interesting. They had a laser range finding binocular, and they had a image stabilized laser rangefinder. Looked pretty decent. Looked good at the show floor. So this stabilized rangefinder would be interesting to look at. For laser rangefinder, I think that might be important. But we'll see. I didn't get the details of how exactly they executed the image stabilization, so we shall see. Let's see. What else? I talked about Trigicon attack. Oh, Leica. Almost forgot. So it's no secret that I like Leica optics. They're very expensive, but they agree with my eyes pretty well. Leica has this line of very fancy rifles called Magnus that they weren't able to sell here because Swarovski tried to sue them. They fought it off apparently, and they brought the Magnus scopes here, and they look pretty awesome. They're very expensive, but they're very, very good. I think in the high-end optics world, so for a little while we had mostly basically Zeiss, Leica, Swarovski, right, and on the higher end of the hunting scopes. And Zeiss seems to have gone down a little bit, so the V8 scopes look pretty good, but I think Swarovski and Leica look better. Generally, I hear some tertiary rumors that Zeiss is having some issues. I think they're laying some people off in Europe. The one new product that I saw at Zeiss today was the Conquest Gavia spotting scope. It's made in Japan and looks suspiciously similar like some other Japanese designs I've seen used by other makers. A V8 is made in Germany and it's pretty good, but both Leica and